In the world of streaming, Spotify is a true powerhouse. Since its inception in 2006, it has completely changed the way we listen to music and audio across the globe. Today, it's impossible to think about the music industry without mentioning the impact Spotify has had. When it emerged, Spotify was a clever response to the growing issue of online music piracy. While people were illegally downloading music from sites like Pirate Bay, Spotify offered a legal and user-friendly alternative. With access to a vast catalog of music anytime and anywhere, all you needed was an internet connection. Initially, Spotify was free for all users, supported by ads. This attracted millions of listeners worldwide, but it soon became clear that this model wouldn't be sustainable in the long run. So, Spotify adopted the freemium model. This means users can access most of the content for free, but with ads and some limitations. If they want additional features and an uninterrupted experience, they can opt for a paid subscription. This shift not only helped Spotify generate revenue, but also paved the way for billion-dollar investments. However, as Spotify grew, it faced new challenges. It now has to compete with major companies like Amazon Prime Music and Apple Music, in addition to dealing with pressures from record labels. In its early years, Spotify made deals with the three major record labels in the world: Sony, Universal, and Warner. These deals allowed Spotify access to their vast music catalogs. But in return, Spotify had to pay a significant amount, initially $200 million a year or 75% of its total revenue, whichever was greater. This was a risky but necessary move to ensure access to vital content. However, as Spotify continues to grow, these agreements may become even more challenging. Facing fierce competition and financial pressures, Spotify is navigating through turbulent waters. But one thing is certain: its journey is far from over. And we can't wait to see what the future holds for this streaming giant. The major record labels faced a huge challenge with piracy, but they eventually found a profitable solution with Spotify. It was a take-it-or-leave-it deal, as without access to popular songs, Spotify would be doomed to fail. Besides the music from major labels, Spotify needed to make deals with smaller labels and individual artists. These artists get a share of the pie based on how many times their songs are played. Spotify also opened doors for thousands of independent artists, allowing them to put their music on the platform for free while still getting paid based on plays. This forever revolutionized the music industry. However, as Spotify grew, so did the costs. Since the beginning of 2023, Spotify has been paying an average of 0.3 to 0.5 cents per stream. It might seem small, but when adding up all the operational costs and payments to artists, the situation becomes complicated. Spotify has many users, over 551 million, in fact, but only about 200 million of them are paying subscribers. The majority are free users, which makes it hard for Spotify to balance financially. Compared to Netflix, for example, Spotify's business model is very different. Netflix pays for content and then has a fixed cost to keep it on the platform. But for Spotify, each stream costs money. And this becomes more expensive as the number of streams increases. To stay competitive and outpace competitors, Spotify had to reinvent itself. Beyond music, it bet on podcasts. And this proved to be a smart move. With exclusive contracts with personalities like Harry and Meghan, Barack and Michelle Obama, the Kardashians, and Joe Rogan, Spotify is shaping the podcast market and securing its place in the audio world. With multi-million-dollar deals, Spotify is showing it's willing to invest in the future. Spotify heavily invested in the podcast world, spending about $290 million on production studios and acquiring significant platforms such as Parcast, Gimlet, and Anchor for $400 million. These acquisitions gave Spotify complete control over podcast hosting, targeting, and playback, but the total cost has exceeded $1 billion. Despite the constant increase in downloads and subscribers, the podcast market is still small. In the United States, for example, it represents only 1% of all digital advertising. Even so, podcast consumption on Spotify's platform has increased tenfold since 2019, and nearly half of the paying users have listened to at least one episode. However, Spotify's financial situation is unstable. The company suffered a loss of $565 million in the first 6 months of this year, leading to layoffs and contract terminations. Some creators, like the Obamas, have moved to other platforms, while Spotify had to increase the monthly subscription price to try to overcome the crisis. Despite the challenges, the podcast market has been favorable for Spotify so far. But the music market is becoming increasingly competitive. It remains to be seen whether Spotify will be able to overcome these challenges or face more difficulties in the future. What do you think? Share your opinion in the comments.